Hey, what's up everyone? It's Brian. Today we're going to do a little bit of a different video. What I'm going to do is show you how you can build a warm winter shelter for under 10 bucks. And just went into the True Value here in Buena Vista and picked up the supplies I needed. You only need two things. You just need a 2mm drop cloth that's made of plastic. You can get those, they're like for painting. I got the 9-foot by 12-foot size. I think that'll be sufficient for what I'm wanting to do. And then I also got a Mylar blanket, which is typically referred to as like a, emergency blanket or space blanket or whatever. Those are the real thin ones that kind of like tinfoil-ish. So we're gonna head back up this road, go in the cabin here. The snow belt is pretty much about 100 feet up, and that's where it got real deep with snow from the last snowstorm that we had. And so we'll go back up in there. I'll get everything set up and I'll film it, and I'll show you guys how to make that shelter, like I said, for under 10 bucks. It's really easy to do. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so the drop cloth, I actually got it on sale. It's $2.99. It was normally $3.49. And then the emergency blanket was $4.29. And after tax, it came to $7.86. Alright, so this is the spot we're going to use. I brought paracord to tie between that tree and that tree to make a ridgeline for the tent, and then we'll have our fire right out front here. So I'm going to get this all set up. I'm going to stomp down the snow and get the paracord lined up, and then we'll start making out the tent. And then we'll make a fire out front here, and I'll show you how fast it heats up. I'm deliberately setting up in the shade, because if we were to set up in the sun, then we could use passive solar from the sunlight, and I don't want that to be like a cheat. So we'll go ahead and get set up. Sierra's running around here. In case anybody has any questions as to why I'm carrying a rifle today, there's coyotes in the area. They've been active. Saw Sierra run after one the other day, and I got her right before she was led to a whole pack of them. So it's just for safety. If I see any coyotes, then I'm just gonna fire off a round and we'll be good to go. But that's the only reason why I'm carrying today. So sometimes people have questions about that. But anyway, we'll get set up. I did bring a little bit of the tinder, some dry tinder for myself, just to get the fire going. But there's some down stuff around here that I can get, just some right past the camera there. That'll be easy to harvest, and we can get the fire going. So gonna get this all set up, and I'll probably do a fast forward time lapse. That way you guys can see how this thing is done, and you don't have to see it in real time. You can see it all sped up. All right, we'll get cranking. All right, now we've got our ridge line all set up, and we're good to go. Now what we want to do is we want to take our 2mm drop cloth, the 9-foot by 12-foot drop cloth, and we want to make a tent using this as the ridge line. And so the tent essentially is going to have a flat front face to it, and then a sloping back that goes back to the ground. And then hopefully, if we have enough material, we can make a floor in it as well to keep us protected from the cold ground. And then out front here, what we'll do is we'll build a fire, and the radiant heat is going to pass through the front wall here. And then on the sloping back section, that's where you attach your space blanket, your emergency blanket, and that'll direct the heat. It comes in, and then it'll point it back down, and it just kind of circulates inside your tent and makes it really warm. So we're going to get this set up. I'll probably use some sticks or rocks or something to help keep the tent in place. And then we'll get a fire going, and I'll show you how warm it gets, because it gets pretty hot. So we're in the shade. I think we'll continue to be in the shade at least for a little bit longer, and that way I can show you guys truly how much just a fire heats it up, not using any passive solar from the sun. All right, I just want to show you guys what it looks like from the back. You can kind of see the Mylar blanket on the back side here. So this back side is kind of angled. I'd say it's more like a 60-degree angle going back, but I am on a little bit of a slope, which is not ideal for this shelter. I'd recommend that if you do this, just set up on flat ground. But this is the best I could find given the amount of time that I have. So I'm gonna get our fire going and get this all heated up. All right, so went and got some starter firewood here that'll go well with the really dry tinder that I brought. And then also I brought a starter fire kit. It just has a cotton ball in there with the striker and then some small timber to really get things going. So I've got this wood, got these that can get a little fire going. There's some bigger limbs around here from dead trees on the ground that I can grab. And when I do a fire out in the snow, I always like to elevate the fire a little bit. So I grabbed some other larger pieces of wood that were sitting on the ground and shook all the snow off them, all that stuff, and put that down there. And that way it gives a little bit of oxygen coming from the underside. And you know, if you're doing it in snow, your fire, if you don't really pay attention to it, especially when it's starting out, the snow can dampen it and actually put your fire out. So gonna get this fire going, and then what we'll do is we'll go inside and we'll time how long it takes to get up to, like, say 70. And right now, like the thermometer was saying, it's about 30 degrees out right now. So we'll get the fire going and we'll be all set. You guys ready to party? Okay, we've had the fire going for a bit. I'm gonna head inside and see what the temperature is. But real quick, I wanted to show you how you could fasten up the walls of your tent to make sure that the heat doesn't escape. So this is the side where my head's gonna be at. I'll be sleeping over in this area. I've got my sleeping pad right there. But the way you button up the tent wall is you just put a stick through it. So what I did was I doubled up, you know, the fabric here, or not fabric, the plastic, just punched a hole in both sides and then ran a stick through and it'll stay in place. If you wanted to make it even more secure too, you could punch another hole right here and then have it double through like that, which is what I have on the other side. And then one thing I wanted to mention is that it's always important to vent your tent, especially something like this that doesn't have ventilation. The plastic obviously isn't breathable. So you want to make sure you have vents, and I actually have two of them. I've got one there and then one down right here. So all right, oh, here's an example of the two pass-through system for keeping your tent secure. I mean, this keeps it, you know, closed straight up. So I've got one there and then one down here, and then, you know, there's my sleeping quarters on the inside. So we're gonna hop in and check the thermometer and see what our temperature is running at. Shangri-La. All right, we're all set up. This is, wanted to show you real quick the interior and how I set it up. The rocks hold down the emergency blanket here in the back. And then up top here, switch hands. Up top I used just a little bit of duct tape. And what I do is I take this duct tape and this is actually Gorilla tape, but I'll put it around my hiking pole, and that way I've always got it available and I can just pull it off my hiking pole as needed. And so what I did was I tucked the Mylar blanket up over the ridge line where I used that paracord, and then my little vents are cut. You can see there's a vent cut right there, and then there's a vent that's down over there. But you know, it's not like it's the most spacious accommodations. You're not in here like, you know, chilling out and doing yoga or nothing, but definitely will be comfortable. And if you have a good sleeping pad, like this sleeping pad right here has an R value of 5, and so it keeps you pretty warm. And if I were to button up the end down there and just close everything up and just keep a long fire going out front, long fires can go for like 5 or 6 hours. And so, you know, if you have something like that, then you're all set. And like I said, this is $7.68 to make. You can make the ridgeline out of like down timber if you want. So you don't even have to have a paracord with you or anything like that.
So I think I'm gonna go back to the cabin. I got some friends coming over tonight for dinner, and then I'm gonna come back up here tonight and sleep. And I'll get that on film too. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you later.